Hi folks, welcome to the High Maintenance Hangar. It's a beautiful day here in Utah. Just reliving the events of the air show at Spanish Fork. That was really cool. I've lived in Utah for over 40 years. I've never had the opportunity or the motivation to drive or fly to Spanish Fork Airport. I was pleasantly surprised at what kind of mini Oshkosh it was. It was pretty cool. Really enjoyed ourselves. So this week we're continuing on with the saga of the gap seals. The Sparkies are over there doing some wiring. Let's see what's going on. All right, so Jan and I finished up the riveting that we can do on the right wing. Bob and John are down there doing their Sparky duties, making wire carry electricity. And Jan and I got all of these rivets driven here that hold this bracketry in here. These are screwed on. This one here is flush rivets, so it doesn't disrupt the airflow under the wing. So we've got, this one is mounted. Got all of the hardware in here. Got all of this bracketry in here. I've stripped out the back bracketry that goes in the inner one. I've got that started painting. Still waiting for the strips that's going to go across here. And so we'll have to wait for that. In the meantime, I've got to go over to the left wing, move the scaffolding over there, get it so that I can start drilling out the rivets and start prepping the materials for that side.
Well, howdy.
How you doing, buddy?
Oh, not so bad.
Good, good. All right, it's time to start drilling off the rivets. Let me walk up and explain what's going on before. I know we've talked about this a little bit before, but years ago, Jan had made these for the gap seals. But then, because of the complexity and different stories we'd heard, we didn't finish them. So now we're going to finish them, and I've got to get, so we riveted these in just to plug the holes, and we've got all the screws in here, which, oh, by the way, are going to be all the wrong length, so we've got to order those. So I have to get these off, and these are not correct either. So let me get started on this. Okay, so the idea, first thing I did was to center mark the rivets for removal. Then I drilled a pilot to give me a place to have a larger bit. But the whole idea is to not drill through the rivet. What we want to do is get enough material removed that we can pop the head of the rivet off, and then we can remove it, and then we're not changing the hole size for the next rivet when we go to rivet these back in. So I've got this one done. Now I've got to switch up to the next size drill, get these whatever's appropriate for the particular hole, and then I'll pop the heads off the rivets, and we'll get the panel out from inside. Now here's the part that I needed to remove. Sorry about the airplane noises in the background. There's a twin engine Seminole running outside that they've just done some service work on. I'll get the rest of these pulled off and we'll go from there. Alright, so we've got this stuff drilled off. We've got most of the screws out of here, just not the ones for the P-clamps. And so all 4 of these locations all along the wing. And so for the new parts, we've got all of the drill locations laid out. Jan's going to drill a bunch of holes. We'll make sure they all fit. And then we'll get them in paint and go from there. All right, I've been talking a lot of gap seals, and I've been having some questions about what they are and what they do. And Jan, he's going to be giving us a little tutorial on what's what and where's where. Floor's yours, Jan.
Okay. Bob's asked me to give a layman's explanation on how the gap seals work and why we put them in there, why the manufacturer put them in there. Here we have a little drawing of a wing section. Here's the wing here, here's the aileron here, same down here. Well, this is with gap seals. The gap seal would be this guy right here. And that little circle there would be the zipper, so that we can separate the aileron from the wing when we have to. What happens when, aerodynamically speaking, the air that comes over the top of the wing and the bottom of the wing wants to get underneath the seam here both ways, and when it does that, if it's allowed to get past each other like this, it creates a lot of turbulence over the aileron airfoil here. And so what that does, that translates it into more effort on the pilot's part to get more deflection to get the control he wants. So up here you can see where the gap seal is here. The air can't get into here, so it stops, and so it's forced to go over and out the back of the aileron and not cause so much trouble. So here you can see where it is leaking pretty badly. Whenever there is any aileron deflection, it'll start pumping air back and forth through here, believe it or not. And you get a lot of turbulence through here. And so that's kind of why gap seals are in there. Now, other airplanes, modern ones, they'll have a brush seal in this area here and here, so you don't have to do this. And then other airplanes will actually have a piece that will come over the top here, so that when the aileron goes up, it's still sealed here, and it'll have one down here, and it's kind of sealed here. This is just what they did during World War II for these bigger airplanes. Kind of a mess, but that's what we have, and that's what we're doing.
Okay. Well, thanks, Jan, for that.
You're more than welcome. I hope everybody understands now why we do gap seals.
Okay, and in other news, I showed you the drawing that we have to make, probably have to make. We haven't been able to find any. The inner gap seals for the ailerons. Talked to a guy this morning that is very likely going to make them for us. He's gone now, and I'm leaving town, so we'll hook up. I'll bring him on the channel here in the next couple of weeks, and we'll see what he can do for us. In the meantime, back to the gap seals. So here's all the parts that we're drilling holes in. Jan made these several years ago, and we just never finished them because of where we were in the project. So let's get these holes drilled. All right, we're still working on gap seals, but now we've gone backwards. Hold on. So I think I mentioned that these got to be attached to the leading edge of the aileron, so we are creating straps, backer straps, for when the gap seal goes in here. This will be holding onto the canvas. And so this morning, see all them screws and those plates? Those plates are the weight that we needed to balance the ailerons without the gap seals. So this morning, Jan and I removed all the screws that hold these strips on. So we're going to get these fabricated and drilled, and then we'll start thinking about putting the gap seals in here. So Jan is creating these backing strips for the gap seals, and since we don't have the originals, he's having to plot out where all of the holes are going to be for rivets to hold the gap seals onto the aileron. So that's kind of the plan of the day. Well, Jan and Dave just left. It's pouring down rain outside. And there goes the door. But yeah, it's coming down cats and dogs. So Jan and I have been working on those strips for the left aileron. They just went to lunch, and I'm getting ready to depart to go home. I got to get ready. I'm traveling in the morning. I'm going to Texas to pick up some tooling and some oil for this airplane. I'm going to be gone for a couple of weeks. I'm hoping to visit some warbirds while I'm in Texas, and I'll keep you updated when I can. Anyway, I so much appreciate you guys watching our videos. If you wouldn't mind subscribing and liking and sharing out our videos, we'd greatly appreciate it. We're getting close to that day when we can push this thing outside, get the wings painted, get it back in here, finish all this stuff, and take it flying. Anyway, until next time, thank you for watching. We'll see you then.